I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it, discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it, uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know, there'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make magic today.
Hi everyone, welcome to Senior Nation. I'm your host Phylis Ayman, and you are listening to the Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C. We are indeed a senior nation with 100 plus million adults over the age of 50. And we are here to bring you up-to-date information about successful aging, healthful longevity, and becoming what I call a well-ager, to dignity, respect, quality of care, and quality of life for our parents, grandparents, and loved ones. We at Senior Nation will be your trusted voice for informed choices, meaningful conversations, and a vibrant life at every age. Though the Source TV Radio Network is known for its dedication to bringing the highest level of jazz content to the watching and listening audience, the owners of the network are also dedicated to bringing this important content to this fast-growing demographic, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. So let's begin with today's show. My guest tonight is Rubina Chaudhary, a passionate entrepreneur, innovator, philanthropist, advocate, wife, mother of 3, and grandmother of 4. She is the founder and president of Mars Services, an engineering consulting firm in Fullerton, California, and a founding member and president of Olive Community Services, a nonprofit organization providing culturally appropriate supportive services for seniors, their families, and the community in Northern Fullerton County. The mission of Olive Community Services is to allow seniors to remain in their homes, living, learning, and thriving. Being the only child caregiver for her aging parents living over 1,000 miles away from her home inspired Rubina to create an organization that would meet the needs of the aging adults in her community so they can remain in their homes. Her experiences with her aging parents, living through various stages and conditions, gave her valuable insights and a passion that she brings to Olive Community Services each and every day. I'm proud to say that Rubina was my co-host of a radio show several years ago on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. This radio show also highlighted the all-important topics that relate to seniors and their families. So I'm so thrilled to bring you Rubina Chaudhary.
Thank you.
Hi, Rubina. Welcome to Senior Nation.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on the new show.
Thanks so much. I mean, it's been a while since we've done a show together, so this is really a wonderful opportunity to reconnect on this very important topic.
Definitely.
And, so people are probably wondering what's Olive Community Services or where'd you get the list? Let's start with this because we talked about this briefly beforehand. I described a little bit about, what the organization is, but why the word Olive is the name for the organization?
Just like anything else, when a group of friends get together and you find that there's a need that needs to be fulfilled, but there's nothing exists that will fulfill it. So we said, okay, if an organization doesn't exist in our demographic, in our community, let's create it. So we created the nonprofit. And then we're sitting around a conference table and saying, what should we call it? Well, we are in Orange County, California. So orange was an option, and there were, as were many others, fruits, vegetables, names, and olive was one of them. And everybody kind of centered in on olive. We said, oh, well, it's a nice name, olive. And couple years fast forward, we had a guest speaker at one of our events, and he researched, and he's from the Middle East, so he's very familiar with the olive and the significance. Right. So he researched the name and its significance, and that's when he said, oh, did we really pick that name? How appropriate the name was. The olive tree, it's planted in one generation, but it gives fruit for the many generations to come. So we really are planting the seed. And then, of course, everybody knows the value of olive and our dear olive oil and
right.
else that's olive. But we just, because we like the name. I wish I could tell something different.
No.
We sat on the table and we just said, well, olive sounds okay.
But that's great. It's, sometimes the best things come just that way. And look at the significance that it really has about, sharing over generations. And isn't that, you and I have discussed this many times about the importance of, the older person, yes, continuing what they learn and sharing their wisdom. And, I become more aware this year, I think, with my grandchildren, more and more, I'm talking about my parents and telling them little stories or, an event that happened or a place that we went. So it really is true how you're passing all of that down through the generations. And that's what the olive tree does. So that's a beautiful, plus the olive branch. Isn't an olive branch used for peace?
The sign of peace. And now all of us, including you and me, or you and I, are called Olivers.
Oh, that's right. Am I an Oliver too?
You have always been an Oliver. Everybody who is associated with Olive, young and old, because we have multi-generational programming, right, is an Oliver.
Well, so actually we should say that I was on the advisory board of Olive Community
Yes.
Services for a few years, and I do have a scarf that I got that makes me an Oliver even.
And then you have a lot of Olive mementos.
Absolutely. So, let's talk about the organization a little bit more and what it stands for. And then, we can show, I know you brought a beautiful video clip of some of the activities and some of the people who participate and what it means to them. But talk a little bit about the organization so people get more of a sense of what you're doing there.
Well, we are based in North Orange County, California, mostly providing culturally appropriate services to the South Asian community. And we are calling it the Samina community, South Asian, Middle Eastern, North African community. And majority of this community are more recent immigrants than some of the other immigrant communities in US. Right. So this is the first time where a wave of local seniors is happening. It's the people like myself, my husband, and, that came maybe 40, 50 years ago, went to school and etc. Now they're beginning to age. The years before, it was, their parents, which were few. Right. So we're really going through this paradigm shift from where the people come from, extended family, to this nuclear family, and thus the need for senior support services. And the organization itself, Phylis, has taken its own life.
Right.
It just, it's vibrant. It's being received by the community. It's being received more slowly by the seniors because they're not used to going out so much.
Right. I wanted to ask you about that because not to interrupt, but in your community, and there are other cultures around this country that do that and around the world where the parents, they move in with the children, with the adult children, and they live there. But so much of what happens, and you and I talked about this briefly, is then, everybody goes off to work or they're doing what they're doing, and the person is left sitting there. And we
Right.
all know the effects of loneliness and boredom, and, it affects your health, your mentally and physically. So talk a little bit about that challenge that the community has experienced with
Definitely.
Olive Community Services bringing something in that's very different.
Right. You mentioned the health impacts of loneliness. Our Surgeon General tells us that the health impacts of loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Now that is
Staggering.
Staggering. Maybe that's the staggering. What we've been able to do is work with our seniors, bring them together in a group because they feel like doing things together. And we did a survey recently, just to answer your question, what are we doing? And in one of our events, we did a survey, few questions. We got 50 responses, which is pretty good from about
that is
150, 200 person attendance event. We're getting 50 surveys. And then 30% of them said that they've learned new skills, they've knowledge and resources. 13% said that Olive has given me a purpose.
Oh, that's cool.
And 12% said that I feel less lonely and isolated. And again, 11.5% said I'm more physically active. And another 11.5% said it's improved my mood and reduced my stress.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
So that is, I think we are accomplishing this overcoming loneliness.
Yes.
Our goal. And this is, not a large sample, but I think a reasonable sample that Olive is making an impact through its programs. And these programs are what we call Live, Learn, Thrive.
Right. I was just going to ask about that. Right.
Programs for the active adults.
Right.
And those are the ones that we started first. They're the up and running programs, and they go all the way from field trips to weekly activities to exercises to boat trips, you name it, for the active adults.
Right. Wait, I just want to interject. And you even took a group of people to Spain, did you not?
We took a group of people to Spain, literally months before COVID and everything locked down,
Right.
And it's and we are now we're holding Grandparents' Day annually, celebrating in the first weekend of September. We did a top golf tournament for Father's Day.
Oh, cool.
And we're planning a big event for Mother's Day. We just, planned it on May 16th, where, ladies will come and have fun. It will also be a benefit for Olive. Those Live, Learn, Throw programs are just buzzing. We have that Olive Outdoors program where actually 8 to 10-year-old students, they lead the hikes.
Oh, cool.
Go to local parks once a month. They lead the hike, they research, and they're part of this Art and Wilderness Institute. And they're a partner with us, and they come with families. Then they make tea and serve the tea there, and have some conversation about. I've learned so much going on those field trips myself. And then another thing that Live, Learn, Thrive program has done is given an opportunity for elders to positively engage themselves.
Right.
In Olive, we say it's for seniors and by seniors. So, that's been because there's so much potential that's in those of us that are retired. We just want to work less hours, right?
Right. So I just wanted to say also what's so beautiful about these hikes that you say with these children is now there's an opportunity for intergenerational sharing. which is, during those hikes, maybe the older adult is learning about nature, or the people, the younger people, part of this science program or this nature program. But then the older person can be telling the younger person about their experiences living in different environments and in different places where they've seen different things. So that's really something even, to me, just as special. Yeah.
It's more than special. It's precious. And
Right.
one of the most recent things, we've gotten ourselves qualified under the Presidential Service Awards for volunteerism. So we're accepting more and more volunteers, high school students, college students. And so the Live, Learn, Thrive program is vibrant. Every Tuesday, the group meets in Olive Base, our headquarters, for Connect and Create. They work on projects, it's just amazing. I can't even begin to list all the projects.
Didn't you guys do a cookbook at one point?
Yes, Olive Delights, and that was one of our projects during COVID.
Right. And right, masks. You did masks. I have a few of those masks. You sent them to me. They were beautiful.
Yeah, it was very, 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 very challenging time for us to keep seniors active in those first weeks of COVID when nobody could go anywhere. Right. So we had, 2-3 people who we had people cutting the masks, people buying the fabric, people delivering. And we had grandmothers and granddaughters and daughters sewing, it was beautiful. 5,000 plus masks.
Yes, I remember. So somebody Carla just said, too many children and grandchildren are substituting FaceTime for visiting. What do you think?
Well, if in-person visiting is an option, that is best. But if not, then FaceTime is the next best thing. I'll share my personal experience, during COVID, when my mom was in nursing home, I got an iPad for her and I would visit with her on FaceTime. And the first time I did that, and she said, "Why is she coming to me like this?"
I remember. I remember.
So, this FaceTime for visiting is fine because what's important is visiting.
I agree.
That's the key, is that they're connecting with each other. They're visiting. Nothing beats in person.
I agree 100%. And, something that you and I have discussed, and I've discussed it on this show and other shows and with many people, when a person has a loved one in a nursing home, it's even more important to visit. However you're going to do those visits. And what I have found after COVID, during COVID, of course, a lot of facilities were encouraging that. They're not so much anymore. They've kind of fallen off that. And that's a shame, because I think people were relying on that. And so therefore they're not visiting in person so much. And that's really unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. And, I think it requires conscious effort to visit. We all know that. Right. And one of the things that surprised me, I think, Phylis, you'd be interested. About a year and a half ago, my nephew from Sacramento went to Canada for a, trip. That's where my parents were, in Canada, and I live in California. And he went to visit, didn't know. Then he just said, we're coming to here. I don't know. Oh, we know that auntie. She has the most visitors. Here. And I think that the key, what I'm getting to. Here she is. I'm an only child. I'm living far away. But I made it one of my goals that I tried to get anybody and everybody that I could to visit her.
I remember.
Where they were relatives, whether anybody were coming into town, anybody wanted to do anything, I said, just go spend 10, 15 minutes. To know that someone who obviously doesn't have anybody living there
Right.
had the most visitors. I thought was an achievement on my part.
Sure it was. And I happen to know that you flew up there about every 6 weeks. Wasn't it every 6 weeks to spend several days with your mom and dad? And then unfortunately your dad passed away, and then your mom moved to an assisted living. Then she broke her hip, and then she was in a nursing home. But before we get into that, you brought a beautiful video of
Yes.
Oliver's, and I would love the viewers to really get a chance to see that, because they talk about how much the program means to them. So let's watch the video about Olive Community Services and the Oliver's living, learning, and thriving.
Because first of all, I get exercise. Second, and I have a company with seniors. Talk to the seniors, whatever the issue we have facing with other Olivers.
It has helped me a lot. As I live alone, I was lonely. With Olive, I've made a lot of friends. I have activities going on every week, which I look forward to. The kind of programs the Olive do for the seniors, the care they have. They take us on field trips. I do craft, bring people to discuss a different subject, which we participate with our thoughts in it. So that really helps.
Olive has helped me by being part of a community that is vibrant and energetic. And I find it really nice for me from a social, emotional, intellectual level.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And of course, like we said, I recognized one or two people there. So that was kind of cool. So, as the program has developed, I know, nothing really happens in a silo. You work across many, areas of society, factors. So can you talk about, how Olive is integrated with different sectors of the community?
No, we realize that, you can't do it alone. The saying, it takes a village
Right.
to raise a child, but it takes a village to take care of the adult as well. And the cultures that we come from, it truly is the village, because they're a center. The family grows with and around the senior.
Right.
Here the senior comes to live with them. The big
Right.
difference. And it's just heartwarming to see seniors beginning to sort of appreciate things being done for them. Because as a group, we are more used to doing things for others. Recently I was in a community meeting, and there was no mention of senior services in this master plan. And of course, we asked the question, said, well, the seniors have to let us know. I said, no, we've built this for you. Now you have to do for us what you think we'd want. If you wait for us to ask, we're going to continue on saving for you.
Right.
We're going to take care of ourselves. But, so we recognize that it's not a one-person effort. So we take a look at the resources that the community has, the resources that the government has, and the resources that the family has. And how can we bring them to the benefit of the Oliver? And also, how can we bring information about the community upwards and champion, at the state level? Olive has gone to the California Department of Aging, to the Commission on Aging. We've attended meetings. CalOptima, Orange County Health Agency. So we're doing outreach that way. We're working with the communities. One of our programs runs at City of Anaheim. And we just recently, actually 2 weeks ago, started a program at City of Irvine. So our goal is that our senior facilities are there, but our demographic is not used to going to the senior center. and using the facilities that are available to them. And so we go as a group so they get used to it, and then they go by themselves and take advantage of all the multitude of things.
So wait, I have a question. So when you're going to Irvine or going to Anaheim, are you setting up other community service organizations there? Like, is there a central meeting place, or you're going there kind of as an outreach, and I don't want to use the word marketing, but an educational piece?
No. We have made relationships with the city of Irvine where we offer, they have 2 hours of exercise program, and we invite people to come to that. And then after that, we rented a room for 2 hours. And there we conduct a socializing program activity. So it becomes a 4-hour program.
Oh.
And then city of Anaheim, the nice lady in charge of the active adult program asked you, do you have any festivities? And I said, of course we do. So just 2 weeks ago, they hosted a lunch for us for the end of Ramadan. And there were, I think, 350 people that attended.
Wow.
City of Anaheim hosted the lunch for Olivers. And we had a fashion show. And I invited the director, and we gave her a nice flowing skirt because we did a fashion show, right? So she and I hand in hand walked, so we got to be in the fashion show.
Oh, that's cool.
It's little things. Do you and I maybe you get to be in a fashion show, but I don't.
I haven't yet, but I'll work on it though.
So, we got to be in the fashion show. But city of Irvine, the same thing, they have multicultural programming, they have senior centers. So we made a proposal. It took time. So the city of Irvine provides a facility and does the marketing through their social media. And then we come in and we offer the program.
That's a beautiful thing. So are Irvine and Anaheim the only two cities where you're doing this? Do you plan on doing more?
Those are the two where we have programs in conjunction with the city. The other model is that we rent a place and we offer a program. A third model is if there's a community facility, that wants to have it, will come and do the programming. And actually, it's interesting you would ask that, Phylis. We are right now really packaging our policies and procedures, me, right? And within the next 6 months, we have a package ready that we would be able to go nationwide.
I think we were talking about that a few years ago. I think we were working on that, were we not?
It's becoming, exactly. It's now becoming a reality because we have a consultant who's working on that. Our new executive director will lead that effort. Our program manager, who has done a wonderful job, and under her leadership, we will grow this program. Again, we're just touching the one portion, which is the active adults.
Right.
We're just beginning now to get into those who are homebound and those who are facility bound. And if it's okay, I can.
Yes,
things we're doing in that area.
Right. Please do.
Well, one thing that we've done is started the Olive Friends program, where we're matching a friend with a senior, and that's being very successful. And then expansion of that Olive Friend program will be private duty care services, home care services. I think that's going to be a reality within 6 months to a year, pending funding.
Right.
But all the systems are in place. We prepared an in-service. We said, okay, if we can't have our facility, what can we do, right? So we prepared an in-service on cultural and faith practices for caregivers.
Oh.
So we, just things just happen. We launched it in December, and we are now, ready to, so we've piloted it. So we're now ready to launch it again, pending funding, because we need to hire a dedicated coordinator to do that. And then the next would be Hey, we go to different nursing facilities, make relationships. How many people do you have from the SMENA background? Can they be on one floor? Maybe we can send some services there. You yourself have said, even saying hello in their own language is
Right.
welcome to them, and the warmth that they get and the warmth that you get. And then eventually we will have our own facilities. So we're looking at everything that's low hanging fruit, easy to do things, and at the same time, really getting the word out in the community that we need to pay attention to the needs of the seniors. One thing, we have a large community organization, and I sit on it as a member there. And there's so much conversation about burial plots.
Mm.
We need to have these many communities getting older. And after hearing about it a few times, I had to put my hand up. I said, you know what? Yes, we need burial plots. But how about the time before we get
You're right. Before you get there.
we talk about that too? And there were some ears popping up.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to going back to that organization again and saying, hey, what can we do in the short run? How
Right.
can we make programming for seniors easy for you?
Right.
And thus our package will come in handy. We'll be able to replicate it.
I just, it was something that you said, how even saying hello to somebody in their own language. There's a stationery store near me, and I go in there every once in a while, and they're from Egypt. And so I finally learned to say hello, how are you in Arabic. And it's a kind of a nice sharing, but I'm sure if I tell you this, you'll remember many years ago, I was covering in a facility.
Remember that?
Right. And there was a man who was, I think he was from India, if I remember correctly. And I spoke to him about, his faith and his dietary requests. And he was so thrilled.
That's clearly how happy he was.
Right. That somebody acknowledged it and was able to talk in some kind of way that had some knowledge about it. Somebody especially that looked like me that he wouldn't have thought, because we all stereotype, and that's not, it's just a reality.
It's just a reality.
But yes, I remember how thrilled he was, and I couldn't wait to call and tell you how meaningful it was for this gentleman to have somebody acknowledge what his, preferences, limitations, restrictions were, and could approach him on that level. How important that is for people.
That the cultural part of whether it's diet, whether it's language, is very important as people age, as you know. And, there's the saying about where's my dal? And I was talking to, which is lentils, lentils.
Right.
And I was talking with somebody, I said, some of these people, they didn't grow up eating macaroni and cheese sandwiches. They grew up eating rice and dal and that. And the person, well, I like my macaroni and cheese. I said, yes, I like macaroni and cheese too. But as you get older, you want to eat the things that you grew up eating.
Right.
If you grew up eating pancakes, you want pancakes. But if you grew up eating rice, as in some cultures, or breads or something, then you crave that. And I think those little things go a long way. And I was thinking about my mom. She was, for a part of the time, she was in a culturally appropriate facility in Vancouver, BC. And then she went to a nursing home. And my mom was used to eating Western food, so it wasn't a problem. But when I would go and visit and I would bring any dish for her, she would eat, and the staff were saying, oh, she doesn't eat. Didn't matter how spicy, what it was, but she craved it.
Right.
So then I made plans that once a week or once 2 weeks, her care aide, who used to meet her, would go to this restaurant that I made arrangements with, would just bring her a meal. I think it's that you have to know that is something you want to do. Then it isn't as difficult. if
I
you
agree. But
goal to do something. Yeah.
it's interesting that we're talking about this because we just passed the Jewish holiday of Passover. And, for me, it's more of a cultural identification. And so my daughter and her family, we celebrate the first night. Well, this year, um, um, we eat something, it's called gefilte fish. Gefilte means mixed. So it's kind of looks like a little ball in a way. I'll just call it a ball. It's not round, but it actually kind of more of a football shape. Anyway, nevertheless. And we used to get it in a few different places, and then they changed and we didn't get it there anymore. So this year, I said to her, I thought we should make it. And so we did. And I went to her house and we did it together. And it wasn't her so much because she was busy. She has 3 kids and running around, and they were going on vacation the next day. But for me, it was such an emotional connection to something that my mother used to do. And then my granddaughters, say, oh, can I do part of that? Can I do part of that? Can I do part of that? And what was it like when she did that? I mean, it became part of also the generational experience.
Right.
But it was such a different connection because now I made it. They were able to eat something that I made, that I grew up with, rather than just coming from, a strange place. So I think those connections are so important. I mean, we all know holidays. What are holidays about when we get together? It's the memories, it's the foods, it's the situation that's created. And people crave that as they get older. It's a connection.
In Olive, a few years back, we offered a summer school where Olivers taught classes to schools. Cool. It was beautiful. Everything from, arts and crafts to making a few things. And that's a project that we can pick up. We've had seniors go to different schools to, talk about their experiences. There are just so many things that we can do. So many things that Olive is touching on. And I think with God's grace and with the resources coming and the right people on the team, I think you'll see now kind of the flowering. The foundation is there, the trunk is there, the trunk is strong. I think now you'll see that growth of the olive tree.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. So, we have another little graphic. I want people to get a visual of, how olive is at the center of all the different, the community, the government, the community, the family, how olive really is at the center of it all. And that's really what community services should be, right? They should be at the center, bringing everyone and all sectors together.
For sure. And you asked about Olive and how we started the Olive and the name. But when we sat down at that first meeting, we knew the seniors needed services. We also knew that it was a global need. It wasn't one community's need, one organization's need. So that's how we made Olive as an independent organization.
Right.
And we are able to grow, we are able to access the government sources and really educate the families. Many families don't even know what's available to the seniors. What are the needs of the seniors? About 3 weeks ago, I was at a dinner party and one person approached me and saying, you know what, I think we need to do something. This person is in that getting burial plots and burying, saying that when a spouse dies, the other spouse doesn't know what to do, especially the women. So one of the things that I know we're going to do very soon, and I'm probably likely to take leadership in it, is have that checklist. Not only a resource guide of who to go, what to do, but what to get ready for when one or the other spouse dies.
Right. And that happens quite a bit. Not only And I'd say probably at younger ages, not only when a spouse passes away, but when children leave the house, that whole empty nest syndrome, people are at a loss. And then when they leave their, if they leave their regular kind of employment, then they're really at a loss. And there's so much, last week, we had somebody talk about grief, and, there's a lot of grief that that's associated with that loss and grief. And that contributes also to how people, fare, I would say, emotionally and physically.
One of the things that we've done successfully, I mean, we have so many programs. We have also a book club.
Right.
And that we have the program Tea with Rubina. We do.
Right.
We do once a month. But one of the books that we read was called Strength to Strength. At the young, you have different strength. At a height, you have a different strength. At old age, you have different strength. So you have to know what is your strength right now and how you can build a passion around that strength. And that's where we're coming when we're talking about buy Olivers.
Right.
They have a lot to give. Just, one of the ladies you saw in the program, retired physician. She's run several clinics. Her husband had a condition, so they took early retirement. She has volunteered to be Olive's medical director for anything that Olive does.
Oh, cool.
She was thinking about not renewing her license. She said, yes, she's renewed her license. I think it was the last person who said that, the intellectual as well as the social stimulation.
Right.
She's a doctor, and we have nurses, nurse practitioners, dietitians, that have so much to give, love, time, resources. But now we've got the active adult programs figured out. Those we're going to expand. And now our focus is going to become for those who can't come themselves and those who can't afford to come themselves, whether it's transportation, whether it's money resources, whatever. So I think we're following in a I think a reasonable methodical method.
Yeah, well, you do things very methodically, and it takes time to grow. As you're talking, as I've said, I remember us talking about some of those things. They were visions, things that you wanted to accomplish, but everything in its proper time and in its proper place. And you can't get to the end of the road before you take the step on the next part of the road. But before we go, and we touched on it a little bit about your parents, and you were this distant, I call it a distant caregiver, and you were actually part of what we call the sandwich generation because you have a thriving business at home. Your children are grown, but you have grandchildren, and you're very involved in their lives and in your children's lives too. And then you had these, your parents over 1,000 miles away in Canada. And, that must have been a tremendous challenge for you. And if we want to talk about that a little bit, and then I know we have a lovely picture of you with your parents, which is very touching. But
Sure. I think when we're given challenges, we're also given the tools. I really believe that. And if I was not an entrepreneur and a business owner, I don't think I would be able to do what I was able to do. I could take the time off, and I could, an example, in one of Mom's dialysis clinics, one of the nurses, hey, do you work? I said, yes, I do. Right. And there was another time I'm in the snow and driving, and I'm getting calls from a client. Right. And I didn't start because I couldn't keep driving. So, being an entrepreneur helped. And then having a very supportive spouse.
Right.
Yeah, I think that if I have to say one thing that gave me the strength and the support, that has been my husband. And I really appreciate that. And then my children, they also went and visited their grandparents. Mm-hmm. Because it became harder for them. It's harder for the seniors to leave their environment. I said, okay, then we'll come and visit you. And then I think I had friends like yourself. At that time, we knew each other, and you were very supportive and very helpful. And I learned many things from you that I was able to apply for my parents. And that was one part. And then there was the other part, the cultural part.
Right.
They went through that culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was on dialysis, decided that she couldn't manage at home, and my dad took it very hard. And when she went to the care facility, some ladies would come and say, "Oh, you left your husband." And my mom would say, "Oh, so and so, so and so." I said, "But it's okay." you know, that thing. Why did you leave your husband, right?
Right. Right.
So it was, but then I think the other benefit, the big benefit of that was for me, I think that was my laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
Taking
Right.
care of them, going there was the incubator. I think that is what gave me the learning, the knowledge that now I'm able to bring to Olive.
Right. And I think that because your mom was in a nursing home and you saw some of what that experience is like, both positive and negative, and some of the strategies that you were able to incorporate to help her what's the word? I don't want to say get along, help her function better.
Yeah, function better. We had her knitting.
Right. And so let's talk about that, as an example, because I gave you that as I'm so proud that I was able to help you in some ways, with that. So there was an issue with her getting up and down, if I remember correctly, right? Standing up, and they wanted to put a seatbelt on her wheelchair to keep her from standing up, which is a kind of restraint. Now, in this country, it's not allowed anymore, but I wasn't sure about in Canada. But I had given you a suggestion, since she loved to knit, that if you got her knitting needles and some yarn, and she was engaged and enjoyed that, she would be sitting for a longer period of time. And it was successful, correct?
Yeah, it was successful. And you know what? After her passing, I took the bag with the needle and the yarn, and I have it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
She had just a partial knitted scarf, but that was one of the few things that I saved, was her bag of yarn and the knitting needles.
That's so nice. And we have a beautiful picture as we're talking about her and your dad. You sent a beautiful picture of, you with your parents, and it's so, even when I look at it now, it's kind of emotional.
Yeah. The one with the suitcase is the real example. There I was with a suitcase, and that's the care facility that's culturally appropriate, East Indian facility. She loved living there. And my dad was in a different facility. And, it's interesting. Somebody asked the questions of the FaceTime. When you see my mom there and with a blue shawl there, and then you'll see at the top me, and that's me on her iPad. And we're doing FaceTime. So that's FaceTime. And then where you see us with the smiles, I'm connecting her through the video app to her brother in India.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that I did whenever I visited with her, I would try to connect her with as many people as I could, even if it was through, a 5-minute video call or video chat. And I know my uncle appreciated it immensely that I was able to connect his sister to him. So, there's a real application of the FaceTime that someone asked a question earlier. I used it.
Yeah. And I think, and I mean, there's a perfect example. Obviously, if you're connecting her with somebody in India, they weren't readily able to visit. And yet she was still able to connect with people in her family, friends, whoever it was. That
her brother, she was talking to her younger brother. Look at the smile on her face.
Yes, absolutely.
She was talking to her younger brother.
That absolutely. So how long was she in that facility? I don't remember.
She was in the nursing facility over 3 years. She was in the assisted living for over 10 years. And just the week before COVID, she fell and broke her hip. So
I remember.
She went through rehab and the senior facility on her own. And that was the hardest time for me. I couldn't go. And nobody could go and visit her. And she was not in her familiar place. And because of her not having the mobility, she couldn't go back to assisted living because she needed a 2-person lift.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, just looking at the pictures, I was kind of part of that from a distance at that time. And so it's even emotional for me to see them.
Thank you. You were definitely helpful, and thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad. I mean, it was just timing is a heck of a thing. And, it was important for us to be together at that time, I suppose.
Yes, some people may wonder, how did I meet Phylis and how did Phylis meet Rubina? We met at a all women's conference in Beverly Hills, an entrepreneurs conference, where I was a speaker.
Correct. And after you spoke, I was sitting next to a woman. I don't remember her name right now. And when I was telling her what I do, and this is many years, I can't even remember how many years. So COVID was 2020, right? So it was at least 2 or 3 years before that, I think, right?
Yeah, it was more, maybe three or 4 years before.
So, and the woman I was sitting next to said, you need to go speak with that woman. And I went up to you, and then we went outside, we ate lunch, and then we connected, and we went from there.
See, that we meet each other at the right point for the right reasons, and
I agree. So, Rubina, if you wanted to share with listeners and viewers, if people wanted to get involved with Olive Community Services, any way they can get in touch with Olive Community Services or with you, how would you, tell them to do that?
Yes, we have a website, Olive. It's called www.olivecs.org, or just Google Olive Community Services. We have a YouTube channel. Many of our programs are recorded there as well. Or you could email info@olivecs.org, or livcs.org, or you could email me, Rubina@olivecs.org. I think if the email goes to info, it's more likely to be picked and given to me, and I will give a response.
I'm sorry to say that I know that, but okay.
I think if anybody knows, I get emails from every source, and there are sometimes emails that get missed. So if the info@olivecs.org is the best email, and then with a reference, then I will definitely reach out.
Yeah, and the logo is so beautiful. The O with the olive and the leaves, it's just so beautiful, and it flows, and it.
And it was designed by the daughter of one of our founding members, board members.
Oh,
Nadia Afghani. Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. So, I just want to ask you one other question. If there are people in the community who are not part of that community, can they still participate in Olive programs?
Oh, of course. Olive programs are open to all members. All members. We are culturally, sensitive that we provide the right, food, etc. It's open to everybody.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that there are people reaching out to Olive from other communities?
Yes, they are.
That's cool. Yeah.
We just recently, the most recent example is that a care aide found out about Olive, and her mother was the person she's caring for. She brought them. We go to the Anaheim, the training, the strength and balance and Tai Chi. People from there come to our programs right after that and participate.
Wow.
So it's
That's really super.
it's open to everybody.
That's great. I mean, that's good to know. And so while other people are reaching out to Olive, is Olive also reaching out to other members in the greater community about their services?
Yes, at a limited level, because we are still in a preparatory phase. The long-term goal of Olive is that we have our policies and procedures done. Then let's say if we go into a Japanese majority senior center or a program, then we'll make sure that it's culturally appropriate to the attendees' culture.
Right. So this is an interesting thing that I just thought of. So you were talking about, as we're coming to the end, about packaging what you're doing with Olive Community Services for other communities, around the country, even not just only in California, with, people particular to your culture. What about packaging it for other cultures?
Of course.
Yeah.
We are, the culture is a delivery component. It's not the key of how a program is run.
Right.
Whether you serve, we talked about pancakes and rice earlier, is secondary, but it's the program and the quality of the program and the love and the care in the program that is really important. Yes, Olive is going to be everywhere. We really want it to be the standard, so that people want to come to Olive, that it is really that community service for the senior that gives the opportunity for programs for the seniors, by the seniors, because not everybody just wants to take a program.
Right.
To give, and we create meaningful opportunities. They can be teachers, they can be, medical directors, they can be this, right?
Right.
It's really, really a wonderful opportunity, and we'll stand by and see how Olive flourishes.
Well, Rubina, I can't thank you enough. It's been so terrific to see you again and to be with you again on a program, and for you to share what you've accomplished with Olive Community Services on Senior Nation is very special, and it's inspiring. And it brings to mind a quote by Robert F. Kennedy, which said, "Some men see things as they are and say why, but I dream things that never were and say why not." So you're a true example of seeing things that never were and saying why not. And you saw a problem, you found a solution. And I can only say, bravo for your fortitude, your advocacy, your determination. Not only your community, but anybody listening to this, I hope they're inspired, and not only but what you've done, but what they can do. So it's truly commendable.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Please join me next Wednesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Senior Nation to hear my conversation with my next guest, Jody Holtzman. Jody was Senior Vice President of Thought Leadership at AARP and coined the term the longevity economy, now estimated at $8.4 trillion. Our conversation will help viewers and listeners understand the many important ways older adults bring value to our economy, our communities, and our country. So remember to tune in, comment, and ask questions on April 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Source TV Radio Network. And until then, take care, stay well, and stay tuned.
Go for it, go for it. I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it. Discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it, uncover the me that lives in you. I know, yes I know, there'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make